Everybody's worried since Bitcoin price started tanking, and some people are saying that the cycle has ended here. But I don't believe that this is the case, and there's a different scenario that's playing in the background. So today I'll be diving deep into Bitcoin's chart and explain to you where do we stand as of this point. Watch till the end. At the beginning, I'm not going to talk about where is the price going to go next for Bitcoin, because it's nearly impossible to try to forecast or predict the price movement unless we understand the bigger structure of Bitcoin and where it started. And that's why we'll go back towards this point, which is December of 2018. After the end of the 2017 cycle and the peak of $20,000, Bitcoin went into a very deep correction until this point here. And this engulfing candle in December of 2018 was the announcement of the start of the new cycle of Bitcoin. If we look closely at this structure from the beginning where it started until this day, we will clearly see that it has already went through two corrective phases. The first one was this one, which started in June of 2019 until March of 2020. And the second corrective phase, it is the one that's been going right now since April of this year until this day. If we start looking at the first correction, we can see that it has formed a regular corrective flat that included three waves, where this was the initial wave, corrective wave of the structure, and this was the second one, and this was the third one. So as soon as this overall correction was complete, the structure continued trending up from here. As for the second corrective phase, it is also forming a three-wave corrective flat, but that one is not yet complete because we already had the initial corrective wave, which is wave A, complete, and the second one. Now the third wave is already still in the making, and we'll look at this one later to try to see how far is this going to extend it. Has it ended yet, or are we going to see a further pullback before resuming the uptrend? Now the most important takeout from this weekly chart is that Bitcoin, since the beginning of this cycle, has been forming a five-wave structure that included an impulse, a correction, an impulse, another correction, and it should get a fifth wave or the third impulse of this structure in order for it to be completed. Now, as I explained here, we already had two corrections, which is the initial one on this structure, and this is the second correction of the structure that's being formed right now, which means that as soon as this second corrective phase is complete for Bitcoin, we shall be resuming the uptrend from some point here as soon as we complete this correction and continue going up to form the fifth and the last wave of this structure. This was also further confirmed because we did not get any divergence between the initial impulse and the second impulse of this structure, which means that we still have momentum and the price is still going to form its fifth and the last wave. So now if we clear out the chart and look at the bigger structure of how it's going to look as soon as it's complete, it's going to be like this. That's the initial impulse of the structure. This was the first correction. That's the second impulse. Now we are through the second correction and we should get the fifth and the last impulse in order to complete the overall structure. Now this suggests that we have a big possibility of an extended cycle because we are in December right now, and usually most of the previous cycles has managed to end around December. So the 2017 ended in December, the 2013 cycle ended in November. So this suggests that we are likely going to get an extended cycle here because at each and every one of those cycles, the price has went in a less impulsive way and extended for a further period of time. So the possibility of us having an extended cycle that goes beyond December of this year and extend maybe to January or February is highly likely in here. And now, since we already know the kind of structure that we have for Bitcoin and what are we going to get next, Let's zoom in further to this piece of the structure here, to this last corrective phase, and trying to see how soon is this correction going to end before continuing to get the fifth and the last piece of the overall structure. Now on the daily chart, this structure accepts one of two possibilities. The first possibility says that this corrective pattern that we have here is what we call a contracting flat. And usually a contracting flat is a corrective pattern that has three waves, and each one of the waves is smaller than the previous one. So if we were to apply this to the current structure that we have, this was the initial corrective wave, and this was the second one which was already complete, and this could be the third piece of this structure. So if this is the case for us, we could see the price resume its uptrend at any given point over here and continue going up further. But if this scenario doesn't play out and we end up going with the second scenario, the second scenario is going to be what we call a running flat that is almost equal in each one of its three corrective waves. So if that scenario was to happen, we might expect to see something that looks similar to what we had in the initial corrective wave, because after we started correcting here at this point, the price has went down impulsively and then went in a corrective wave for a period of time before it resumed its uptrend. So if this is the case that we are going to get at this point here, so we might see a little bit of lengthy correction that might take place over here. Now it's not necessarily to play out similar to this one 100%, but we might see something very close to that. So the price might continue consolidating towards the lower levels of the price and then continue trending up from some point over here. So if that's the case, then the final corrective pattern is going to be A, B, and C. And once that scenario happens, then the overall structure is going to look more like this structure. So this was the second correction where it was completed, and this was the first correction that we talked about. So the overall five-wave structure is going to be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we should get wave number 5. Now the most important thing here that's going to decide which scenario is going to play out is a key resistance level that we have on the 4 hours chart, and that's why we'll zoom in now and look at that level and see what are the possibilities going forward. So on the 4 hours chart, this is the most recent resistance level that we have formed in the structure, and this level also was tested frequently multiple times. So here it acted as a resistance, and then it acted as a support here and here, and the most recent low was here, and now we're likely to be heading towards a retest of this level one more time. Now this level happens to have a confluence with another resistance point that we have, and that one is the downtrend line of the last piece of the structure. So this exact area between 52 and 54,000 is going to be a very strong resistance, and as soon as the price gets to this level, it is going to decide whether the overall structure is going with the first or the second scenario. So ideally what's going to happen, if the price manages to break outside these resistance levels and continue up further, then we'll likely see it break out and then maybe come for another quick retest and then continue its uptrend from here. And in that case, the bigger structure is going to be a contracting flat, as we said in the beginning, where each corrective wave is smaller than the previous one, and the price will continue trending up from here. However, if the price gets to this level and then fails to break this resistance, then we're going to see the price falls down towards these previous levels, and this accepts so many different scenarios. So we can see something similar to what happened at this point here, as I explained to you earlier. We can come back to form a double bottom pattern and then continue trending up from here, or we can just go down from here towards the 618 level and then continue the uptrend. So there are multiple scenarios that could happen here if the price gets rejected around this resistance level. But I'm not gonna get to all of those right now, and I'll keep the structure simple and straightforward. So if we go back to the daily chart, all what we can say at this point is that we are looking at either the complete correction that has already ended and it should go break the resistance and continue going up from here, or we'll come to retest this strong resistance level, maybe come down to some point and then continue trending up. So in either one of these scenarios, the bigger structure is still a valid structure, and ideally Bitcoin should get a 5-way structure in order for the overall pattern to be complete. And so if anyone is still wondering if the cycle has ended or not, I can tell you that the cycle has not ended yet. I know we might have a little bit of lengthy correction ahead. This is one scenario that could play out. But in order for us to complete the overall structure for Bitcoin, we should get one more impulse, the last wave in this structure that is going to break the previous all-time high and probably take us towards a new all-time high for Bitcoin. So please let me know your thoughts and write them down in the comments below. Also, if it's your first time in the channel and you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure to subscribe and smash the like button, and also share it with somebody else. This was it for today, and until next video, stay safe and see you later.